Hey, welcome to the channel. I've been working on a new project lately, and it's not up for release or anything yet. But I just kind of wanted to get some opinions and maybe put it out there just to see what people thought about it, if there are any ideas, or if anybody wanted to even collab on it and help me develop this. Obviously, there's things like this out there, um, but again, it's just kind of a fun little project that might become useful because of its simplicity. Basically, what it is a way for developers, teams of developers, to track their versions, their releases, bug fixes, bug reports, and export them. Ideally, as the end goal is to export all that information into readable format for scripting, HTML, like to display on their websites for like a change log kind of thing, as well as a bunch of different angles that I want to go at here with this software. So I'm just going to boot it up and just give you a rundown on what it is or how it works. So it's using Node. Right now, there is no Python backend. I do plan on using Python as a backend at some point for other functions as time moves forward. But so far, it's using Node.js and all the web development languages as well as Electron to make it a desktop application, which if any of you guys have been following my progress with all my projects, you know that that's my favorite thing to do is to develop software using Electron. I think it's super powerful in the fact that it can communicate with powerful like backend languages like Python, C, everything really, just by calling it through the shell. It's really easy to do. So without further ado, I'll open this up. So you boot up the software and you have this little menu on the side, release dashboard, control, change project. I don't have any projects right now. Charts, I'll get to that in a second here, and create. So in order to start this, we have to select a project. I don't have any projects, so I'm going to create one. Enter project title. I'm going to say video project, a short description. And you create the project, success, exit, change project, select it, and here we are. Now we're in the video project. As you can see, it's a blank screen. That's because there's no releases put out yet. So if you go to Control, Publish Release, version 1.0, the type of release, we're going to call it an update, and we're going to say the first release. And then this is a small description of what this release entails. Release. And then you get a little pop-up like this. A little card pops up on the screen. You can see the description you just typed, who it was released by. So because this is all hosted on a database that the user will be able to connect to, all the other developers will be able to post releases on here. And I'm going to add permissions and a whole structure of who can do what and how it displays who does what and things like that. But simply put, you publish a release, the type of release it is, small description, who it was released by, date and time. Then here, this little I next to the trash can, you get this little pop-up, right? There's no data in here right now, but say a developer finally releases version 1.0, they can add data. So we're going to say there is an optimization or a preventative. We're going to put it for both Windows and Linux, which obviously I'm going to add all other operating systems and everything else in there. And then a brief description. We'll say obfuscation of vulnerable functions, just like that. Click the little plus sign. It's going to add that, and then we'll add an update, and we'll put it on Linux and say users can now chat, whatever. It's color coded here, and then we'll do a fix, or actually we'll do optimization. Fix is the same color as update. We'll do it for Windows, and we'll say installer is faster. So now you have these sweet little pop-ups that come up that the developer or the releaser of this specific version can put on here. And again, I'm going to add capabilities for that developer to choose who else can add to this or some other way, depending on the input that I get from you guys and other people. So see reports. There's no reports for this item. So say you were testing this version. There'll be a download button here to download the version itself to test it. And you found a bug. So we'll say an urgent report, and we'll say a possible, or I'll move that, we'll say buffer overflow vulnerability, which is a common vulnerability in software that's released, which can lead to a lot of issues. Then you get this little report thing here, and we'll do a routine as well. For a routine report, we'll say login screen is buggy, whatever. Report. So now you have these reports, and you can see there's this little icon here which you can click, and then this little logo here. So say another developer came in, started his job for the day, opened this up, and sees these two reports right here have not been touched. Buffer overflow vulnerability. So by that developer clicking this button here, it'll change the status to working, which remains, meaning that that developer is actively working on that software or on that release, trying to fix that bug. Once the bug is fixed, the developer can go in, mark as fixed. It's going to mark that bug as fixed. Same thing with these up here. And you also get this little button here, which is the audit log. The audit log is anybody who has changed any of the statuses or added notes in the future. I'll add that. It'll put that in this audit log and state who did what and when and all that stuff. This is just very basic right here. Again, I'm going to beef this up a lot. So status change to working, status change to fixed by this developer, which the developer name is going to come as you log into the software. And that's basically the audit log. So now you also, one of the biggest important parts of this is the export button here. So I'm going to delete this old export right there. If the individual clicks this export button, I'm going to have it a lot nicer, and you'll be able to choose where to export it to and all that stuff. But they click this button, which I just clicked it if you didn't see. It's going to generate this file, which you just saw that pop up. And that's going to look like this. It's going to be an XML file. Within that XML file, a root node is going to be a release. It's going to have the basic information for that specific release, which would be this card right here, and then this top information right here. And then it's going to have all the release notes split separately, as well as all the reports split separately. This is just, again, a basic output right now. This can be beefed up a lot as well, but again, I'm looking for help with this and ideas and people who want to collaborate on it. A little bit more to show you here. I haven't added any functionality to these here yet. Schedule is going to be, you schedule a release, so you can have it set up as if it was released, but it won't become released. It won't show to everybody else is released. It won't do all the automated back-end processes until the date and time is met based on the schedule function. Notify, essentially going to be an email or chat within the software itself that'll pop a notification on the individual's devices, depending on the settings that they select or the settings that the company using the software decides to use. And then obviously you have purge posts, which you can set retention periods, is my idea. You can set retention periods. So if a post was sent or if a release was released, any more than 3 weeks ago and it doesn't have any active bug reports on there, then delete it or export it and then delete it or something like that. That's what that purge post is going to do. Then you also have something called charts, which I'm going to show you that here in a second. So let me change this real quick. I haven't added functionality to have all the developers in there, so I just made fake developers in my developer table here. So just ignore this part that I'm doing right now. This is all going to be automated when this gets finished and released. So you can see this table right here. What I'm doing is I'm adding the project ID for that project I just created, and that's linking each developer, which these are made-up names except for this one. That one's my name. Made-up names, and then it's linking that project to that developer, and then putting the amount of interactions that developer has with that project. And what that in turn can do, which I know a lot of companies or groups might find helpful, is, let me just refresh this real quick. So say the lead developer wants to see who's been working the most on these projects, been doing the most. They can go into charts, look at developers, and for that specific project, it's going to generate a chart, and then the amount of interactions is going to be split by the individual. So Tony Tones here has 22 interactions, and Jeff Jones has 6. Maybe Jeff Jones needs to be kicked out or given a verbal warning or something like that, or paid less, or or that. And again, this is going to be a lot more in depth, a lot deeper. This is just basic, getting the idea out there. And then disconnect base, this doesn't work yet, but you're going to be able to disconnect from the entire database of all your projects and connect to a different one. In case you're even higher than the lead developer, you're the program director, the manager, and you have to manage all of these things. So again, there's software out there like this at this moment in time. Yes, I get it. But again, this is just a fun project for me. It's going to come in handy for me. Siri is talking right now. Shut up. It's going to come in handy for me in the future when I do my own projects and I work with people. I'm going to use something that I built. I just feel more comfortable that way. Yeah, so that's about it for now. There's going to be a lot of additions here, as you can see, and I plan to add much more functionality. One more thing is you can create multiple projects, so test projects and then description. Spelled that wrong, I don't care. So if you go to change project, now you have that new project. You can go in there and create a post in there, or a release rather. We'll say 1.2. Here we'll do optimization, test release, description. Spelled that wrong, just completely butchered that. Description here, then the release is here. Then you can do all this kind of stuff, and then change back to your original project, which will get you back to what I just showed you how to do. So that's about it for this demo. Again, this isn't out there yet, but if you're interested in the code or interested in helping me, which I would greatly appreciate, please comment or email me. Email will be in the description. I love developing software and web apps and scripting and pen testing and all that stuff. It's my favorite stuff to do. So just keep an eye on this channel if you're interested in this kind of stuff.